All right, we're back. We've got 5 sleeper prospects from our guy Justin Boone here. Let's get it started with a wide receiver. Thank God. So I'm in my specialty zone here. Who we got?
So a little peek behind the scenes for everyone. Like we said, I was on vacation after Super Bowl. We didn't talk much. We got to the Combine on Monday, and it was, probably 5-10 minutes into seeing you where I said, okay, Malachi Fields, what's the deal? Am I right that I have him higher than the expert consensus right now? Am I wrong? I was happy that you do agree that he is an intriguing player. A guy who you think about, he's probably, to be honest, more likely to come in and be a strong number 2 receiver. Probably most likely outcome not turning into a true number 1. But I see enough alpha traits in his game that I think that possibility is there. I think of a guy like Nico Collins. We had this conversation off air where now Nico Collins, absolute star, no questions asked. But when he came out, there were a ton of questions around him. There was even suggestions he might play tight end because he was kind of big.
Insane.
And now you look at what he's become. And maybe Fields will be like that, where it might take a couple years for him to get to that level if he ever gets there. But, a very exciting player, great size-speed combo. Not that he's, super fast, but like a long strider, right? Can kind of sneak up on you. I think he's decent after the catch, too. And in terms of, bigger, wideouts like that, you don't normally see them give you that much after the catch. But I think he gives you a little bit something there. That boosts his value. Just circus catches, just unbelievable in that area. So, I really like him. Right now, if you look at ECR, he's the wide receiver 12 going off the board 25th, so early third round of Dynasty rookie drafts. I have him more as, I have my wide receiver 7 in this class. I think there's a pretty strong group ahead of him that he's not breaking into, but I have him as a late first round, early second round rookie value. And we're going to see this year in terms of Dynasty rookie drafts, there's about 6 to 8 prospects that I think are going to go at the top. After that, late first round all the way to that early third. It's going to vary wildly in different. There's not really a consensus in that range. And that's why you see somebody like Fields having the ECR at 25. And I'm looking at him as, around 12, 13, 14 in that range.
Yeah, it's the line I keep using on all these shows I'm doing this week is that at wide receiver specifically, there's going to be a lot of preference-based debates where it's what do you like? What's your flavor? You're going to value that guy, and then you're going to get in these arguments on Twitter no, this guy's better than this guy. It's really just about what do you like. And I think for Fields specifically, there's going to be some big variance there because I've talked to J.J. Zacharyson, who in my opinion is the best data prospector that we have in the fantasy industry. There's some questionable data prospecting out there. His stuff is really, really good, and his stuff isn't really that high on Malachi Fields. Just from our early conversations, obviously, JJ is going to put his draft guide out. Everybody should check that out and purchase it. Not that he needs my promotion for that, but there you go anyways. Again, see what that final conclusion is. But, there's some mixed inputs for him from a data and a production standpoint. But I agree with you that he's really intriguing because I don't know if he's going to become Nico Collins, but the reason I like that comparison from you is more the journey of Nico Collins' career because he got on the field really early because he's a true X receiver. And he's on the field all the time because he's a true X receiver. Almost like Alec Pierce in a way, similar thing. The guy was just always out there, and then finally year 4, he really has that big year where he could be cashing in. For Nico Collins, it was year 3, same sort of thing. As long as you're not a complete disaster, and I think both of those guys were way better on film, especially Nico was just way better on film than the production noted. You get that time to develop, your game grows. I really like that suggestion for Fields.
And one of the reasons why I was so quick to ask you about him, other than you are great at your receiver work, is I think the biggest mistakes I've made in terms of drafting dynasty rookie receivers is that type of guy, that big body guy. Those are the guys that they look very, very exciting, and how many have we seen come in and really amount to nothing or have kind of disappointing careers. So we always learn, we always refine our process, and that's one where anytime I get overly excited about a guy like that, I'm way ahead of consensus on him. I kind of take a step back, and I'm like, okay, I better double check on this one because it might just be my bias that I really like going after players like that.
Well, that's the thing. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to work out, but in this world now where we're living in more 12 and 13 personnel, these multiple tight ends, being a true outside X receiver that can play on the line of scrimmage is really, really valuable. And I think that, especially for those dynasty rookie picks, you can put a premium on that because the smaller slot jitterbug types, those guys aren't going to be on the field as much as I've talked over and over again the last month or so. Last note on Fields, I thought was a much better zone beater than I expected. Typically, these like outside perimeter players are more man coverage heavy, and his man coverage stuff is solid, but I actually thought like his spatial awareness along the boundary, zone recognition overall was really quality. So that could be a way that he doesn't just stick as like a sacrificial X receiver either. So I love this one for your first one. He's a player I really like, and I'm probably going to be ahead of consensus on as well. This is actually true for the next player that you're going to bring up here as well.
Okay, because we haven't talked about him yet. Ted Hurst, Georgia State. And right away, that is the biggest question mark.
Grinding that Georgia State baby.
To the NFL, that is a big, big jump. And that is the one that you can't be sure about. You can't know whether that jump in level of competition is going to be something that he can handle or not. This is more of a project. This is more of a guy that I think is going to take some time. Tall, thin, like to see maybe a little muscle on. You got to add a little bulk there maybe to put up with the NFL game. But the ball skills are incredible with him. It seems so funny me sitting here talking about receivers to you. Normally it's the other way around. So
what if I was just
a bit of a strange experience?
Terrible. No ball skills. Like this, Boone, get off the set here. No, but I think you're onto something with this one.
Like his ability to box out defenders. I really think he could be a true red zone threat. So very, very interested in him. But again, he is somebody this is a true sleeper. This is further. We're talking like late third, fourth round of dynasty rookie drafts here. And again, a player that might take a little bit of time. I don't know that he's going to arrive on the scene and immediately contribute, but somebody that I am willing to take later, even though I've said before, when you get to those rounds of rookie drafts, I'm not normally drafting receivers in those range because when you have to wait on them, they can become roster cloggers very quickly, and you keep trying to talk yourself into, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then 3 years later, you're dropping them from your roster and you just burn that spot for that time.
The player I do compare him to, though, shown on the screen here is Torrey Horton, who was kind of maybe not one of those roster cloggers. Obviously, it looked like he was about to have that breakout before he got injured in his rookie season. We'll see what happens with Horton, but they're pretty similar in that you mentioned it, like wiry, lankier, thinner type of receivers. Probably a guy that I would like to use as a movement Z, but they win over the middle of the field in pretty similar ways, too, and they have that downfield potential. Like Torrey Horton was a guy that rips it downfield. I think Hurst can be that player in time. So, yeah, we've seen some potential like day 2 buzz on him. If he does go day 2, that would be pretty validating for him as more of like a third-round rookie pick. But, yeah, I really like Ted Hurst as a sleeper in this class. I think he's got some ability to play outside as well. So, a lot of good stuff in his profile. Let's get to your third one here, and let's stop talking wide receivers so that you're not looking at me all nervous about what you're
Exactly, yeah. Harmon, is it all right? Is it okay?
Let's let you
let's go to running back. Let's go to running back. And I think we've already said on the show that this year's class, there is one guy at the top, Jeremiah Love, a very, very good prospect. And then after that, there's not really a consensus of even who's the second running back in this class. And we're going to go a little bit deeper on this one to Mike Washington Jr., who he has really started to rise. And he's still a sleeper, I think, technically, but he had a great week at the Senior Bowl. There's been a lot of hype, a lot of buzz around him. So he's getting to that point now where I was almost skeptical whether I should put him on this list because he's been getting so much talk. But ideal size, 6'1", 228. He's got the juice to power that frame, too. Definitely willing to take on defenders. Really, really like him. I want to see when he gets to the pros, are we gonna see him become that 3-down back? I think he has that, and I think he could be a mid-round steal this year and a guy that is probably going to end up going in the second round, and I think that's going to be a nice value. But again, going back to the way that I think dynasty rookie drafts are going to go this season, a guy like this, if he gets the right landing spot, would not shock me at all if he sneaks his way into that late first round.
Yeah, that's what's going to be fun about this class is when we do finally get those landing spots revealed, because with running back, it's just tough. Like, there's, I think, fewer open seats for true starters right now than usual. It feels like most teams are actually pretty set at running back, which lines up pretty well with this class. And by the way, too, we talked about this with Jory, like there's a lot of free agents available, too, so that's going to muddy the picture even further. But it doesn't appear that there's that. I think we're probably going to get one first-round running back, and then that's it. Maybe even just one or two in the top 50. Like, it's not going to be that type of running back class. So what matters then is, like, okay, if a guy like Mike Washington goes to a team that has maybe an unsettled backfield, backfield, like a Minnesota. We keep wanting to send these quarterbacks to Minnesota. Team needs a running back, dude.
They
like,
do.
They're probably cutting Aaron Jones. Jordan Mason, he's but like that run game not being what it was supposed to be last year is an issue. So I think that's like just something to monitor for running backs, like specifically system fit, landing spot, opportunity, the whole deal, as we know.
I want to say one more thing before we move on to the next guy here, because I don't want to make it seem like it's all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows with these guys. I am talking them up as sleepers, but one issue with him that I do want to bring up, there's some ball security stuff there that I think it's not a real concern.
Okay.
I think that's something that can get cleaned up very quickly, but just something in mind that, some of these guys, because of the way we're talking about this class, some of these guys do have these red flags. They're not like pure, clean prospects. That's why they're sleepers.
That's why they're sleepers.
That's why they're going to be going a little later in the real draft and potentially a little bit later in dynasty rookie drafts.
That's why we just talked about a guy from freaking Georgia State. It's the sleepers section. The flaw might be exactly where he's coming from. Okay, let's get to your fourth one here.
All right, Claiborne, Wake Forest. We're going from a ideal size 6'1", over 220, to now a smaller, quicker back. We'll see what he weighs in when he's here at the Combine, but before the Combine, listed under 200 pounds, 5'10". Very quick, though. Pretty good contact balance for a smaller back as well. And you just wonder where he's going to end up, because I don't think he's going to end up being a workhorse in the pros. You'd like to see him, develop in a way where we could get him maybe a little bit bigger, a little more power behind him, but he's never going to be that kind of back. Yeah. But you want him to land somewhere. Like, think about the Shanahan scheme. How many guys have we seen come through, the Raheem Mosterts, the Matt Breidas of the world, that maybe don't end up having like really long careers as starters and as fantasy options, but guys that come in and have a ton of success? I think he could be that kind of guy. He's going to be probably in a committee, like we're saying, though. But he's somebody that I think this is a much, much deeper. It's kind of like we did with the Ted Hurst thing. Yeah. You give one a little higher, and then we're going way down with it. But he's somebody that I think needs to be on people's radar for the third round, for the fourth round of Dynasty Rookie Draft.
I love it. Yeah, just that sort of home run hitter potentially in a backfield. I like that call. Yeah, just the right rushing ecosystem. If it's an outside zone system where it's just like, hey, get to the perimeter and let him rip, I certainly think that there can be some appeal there. Let's get one more from you before we have to go to break.
Let's go with a tight end, Joe Royer out of Cincinnati. Harmon.
Okay.
This is a sleeper section.
That's a real person.
We're going a little bit deeper. And there's a reason that I'm bringing him up, too, because I think you're going to like this. We talked so much about Tucker Kraft last season. What was the one main thing?
I'm in. No.
One of the main things that we love about Tucker Kraft is arguably the best yak in terms of tight ends, right? He did it multiple years. He brings that element. I think Royer brings that element as well. He's very feisty with the ball in his hands. His movement, too, he's almost got more of like the H-back movement, but he can get downfield. And how many tight ends have we seen come in? He was productive at Cincinnati, don't get me wrong, but I think there's something still to be unlocked with him, and we've seen so many tight ends come in and maybe not have the huge college stats and then get to the pros, get a different opportunity, and boom, become something. It's tough with tight ends. It could take a couple years, especially when you're talking about a guy that might not have the high-end draft capital, right? So could take a little longer, and always with fantasy when we're talking about tight ends, is he going to end up somewhere where he's going to be able to be a top 2 target getter in his offense? Those things will have to be sorted out. But in terms of talent, he could definitely step up, and he's somebody that I think people should be interested in.
You mentioned Tucker Kraft. Like, could he be like that type of guy where he is like an inline blocker as well? AJ Barner's another one that has like become like kind of the poor man's Tucker Kraft in that way, where he's pretty underrated, pops up every now and again. Can he kind of fit into that bucket? I see your comparison actually is Hunter Henry, which I think is it speaks to like that long career that a guy like this can have.
Yeah, and that's a high-end comparison. Hunter Henry has had some good fantasy seasons, so there's a wide range of outcomes there. But yeah, definitely a versatile player, and we're just going to have to see the landing spot and figure out if he's going to get that opportunity.